We're just going to send this live now. So hello and welcome. My name's Metamon and welcome to round 2 of Bush League Racing's Group C series here. We see ourselves at Sugo tonight, so we'll get right into the live scenes where currently a 15-minute qualifying session is unfolding before you. Before I get that on screen here, so just let me organise this and then we'll get right into what's to come tonight. So quickly reiterate what's to come tonight. So round 2 event details. We see ourselves at Sugo tonight. 15-minute qualifying session. The weather conditions in this session is clear conditions. And then we got a 40-lap race to follow that with a mandatory pit stop. And the weather for that will be clear, transitioning over to heavy cloud. And then over to light cloud for the last weather slot there. And it will be in the summer conditions as well. just go through to the next scene here. So Sugo, 3.73, 7 kilometers, 12 turns. Massive elevation change throughout the last section of the track there as we go downhill. So it's about an elevation change of about 700 feet, I think I read up on. So it's fairly difficult. And here is how the Group C Championship is shaping up. So Waffles, a commanding victory last week, sees himself on 25 points, and it'll be XR8 on 22 for coming second. Then Andy Holden rounding out the top 3 with 20 points. We've got Wimpinator, Short Fuse, Angry Old Fella, John Dog, Sparky God, then Aussie Chopper, then Voodoo rounding out the 10-car grid here in the first round. So we'll go over to a track guide from our very own John Dog. He'll take you for a lap around this circuit of Sugo. So enjoy that. It's coming right up now. So I hope you enjoyed that on-board footage with John Dog there. So we'll just get that off the screen now. So here are your current live scenes in the closing stages of qualifying here. Unfortunately, I won't be able to commentate the rest of this one, but currently, Wimpinator has provisional pole by half a second over John Dog in P2, so very tight at the top there. And we've got Andy Holden in P3 as well. So those times are really starting to be competitive in the later stage here. So we might see a different pole sitter, assuming John Dog can get provisional pole here. So I'll be back in a few moments' time. So enjoy the onboard view with Andy Holden here. Trying to eat tea at the same time here, but currently provisional pole sitter is Wimpinator. But Andy Holden looking to improve on his quickest lap time here around Sugo. So we're about to close out this qualifying session here in 60 seconds time provisionally. Cross the line now for Andy Holden. What's this going to be for him? It's not going to be quick enough to improve. Angry Old Fella, very good qualifying performance there to start on the second row in P4. Quickly see who's actually on a hot lap here. So Dimple's still on a hot lap. So we're going to see what he's going to get across the line. It's going to be good enough for P8 there. Sparky God is out of it too. Just trying to see who's actually on a lap here. And I reckon Wimpinator will be the only one able to improve on his time here. So across the line for Wimpinator, is he able to go faster? I think he did. We got that notification in the bottom of screen. So he was the first driver to get in the sixes here at Sugo. 106.9 secures in provisional pole, or pole position rather. Closely followed by John Dog in P2. A further half a second down on Wimpinator. And we have Andy Holden round out the top three. We'll go further down here. We've got Angry Old Fella, Short Fuse in the top five there, those two guys. We've got Hooked XR8, Waffles, Dimple, Someone Awesome, and Sparky God rounding out the top 10 here at Sugo. Go further down, we've got Aussie Chopper, GTR, Voodoo, and I think that's the rest of the grid there. So 13 car grid tonight, so it's a very healthy grid. That's going to shape up to be a very good round here for round two of Bush League Racing's Group C series. So don't go anywhere. We've got a 40 lap race to follow this qualifying session in a few moments time. So here we go. We're going to the grid now. Unfortunately, this is our reigning champ, Wimpinator. He'll start out of pole position for the second week running. He got bogged down off the start last week and he's looking to make amends for last week's performance as well. But he got a decent result last week. John Dog, very good qualifying performance from him. He's in the top 5 in the championship and he'll be looking to cement himself into the top 3 with a good result tonight. And what better way to do it than to start from second on the grid on the first row. Behind him is Andy Holden, finished second. correction, third last week in last round. He'll be looking for another repeat outing of podium finishes here. Then Angry Old Fella starting alongside him. Very good qualifying performance once again from him. But he'll be looking to go a few positions better this week. And we've got Short Fuse in 5th position there alongside him. Hooked XR8. I think he finished 2nd last week in round 1. So he'll be looking to cement his spot as a championship contender in the early stages of this series here. And we've got Waffles starting out on P7. He was your race winner last week by quite a comfortable margin. But very different fortunes this week, starting from 7th on the grid. Alongside him, Someone Awesome will start out of 8 on row 4. Row 5, we have Dimple. He'll make his return tonight in round 2 here. And alongside him, Sparky God will round out your top 10. And we've got Aussie Chopper, GTR, and Voodoo rounding out your 13-car grid here. This is round 2 of Bush League Racing's Group C Series. It's going to be Wimpinator leading everyone into turn 1. We've got a staggered grid here at Sugo. So it really offers pole position with a bit of an advantage heading into turn 1. So here we go, engines about to roar as we're about to go green here at Sugo for round 2 of Bush League Racing Group C Series. Wimpinator almost doing a repeat from round 1. John Dog got an awesome start on the inside, and he's really going to be looking to make a move on the inside as well. It seems as though Wimpinator, our reigning champ, is held on to the outside lane. He's got awesome traction on exit of turn 2. So he's got the lead by quite a comfortable margin out of turn 3 there. Andy Holden up in the P2. We've got contact between 2nd and 3rd place. That's Angry Old Fella moving up in the P3 after that contact made between our top 2 contenders there. So John Dog all the way back in P4. And we got Carnage in the background there, who's drifting all the way to the back. That's GDR with heavy contact on the first lap. Disastrous scenes for him. He's going to have to return the pit lane to repair that damage there, no doubt. I think Sparky God got caught up in a little bit of that incident there as well. Voodoo in P11, Aussie Chopper in P10, Someone Awesome in P9. We've got Dimple in P8 there. He's been overtaken by Someone Awesome, who moves up in the P8 now. John Dog, he's lost a whole heap of positions here, all the way back at P7 from 2nd on the grid on the opening lap. He's just got past Hooked XR8 there to move up in the 6th place. So he's lost a whole lot of ground on the opening lap here. So it's going to be Wimpinator, who has quite a comfortable lead by over a second here at Sugo. Then we got Andy Holden in P2, Angry Old Fella. He's had a little bit of a moment here. He's rotated at turn 1. So he's going to have to be cautious on how he re-enters the track here. I reckon he's been helped there. I'm not sure what's happened there between those two. Angry Old Fella caught up in a lot of carnage earlier on. So currently on board with Andy Holden. He's got a decent gap behind him as well from Short Fuse in P3. That gap is 3 seconds there. We'll quickly hop on board with Hooked XR8. He's got John Dog, the company, behind in P5. Those guys both driving the Nissan Group 3s here. As we head into the hairpin, the slowest corner on the track. It's a downhill braking zone as well, so it's very difficult to contend with, especially trying to overtake another car. Just trying to contend with eating my tea here. So it looks as though we got a yellow flag here on lap 2 of 40. So we're going to see a few of the guys drift in the pit lane, change up their strategy, and that's a very risky manoeuvre there. So just going to quickly see who's coming off in the pit lane. John Dog, Angry Old Fella, Sparky God, and then Someone Awesome. Those 4 guys all in pit lane. I'm not sure. So yep, it's very busy here. We got all the pit crews out and ready for their respective pit stops here at Sugo on lap 3 of 40. So these guys looking to get the early advantage over the leaders of this race. We've got a few more in as well, as GDR and Waffles currently are in pit lane as well. So we'll go back to the front where we await Green Light Racing. Wimpinator is leading this one, closely followed by Andy Holden in B2. And then Short Fuse will round out your top 3 positions here at Sugo. So everyone's exited pit lane now. So they'll be able to catch up to the back of the pack here and wait for the green lights to go out. Green flag waving at the end of the lap, I would assume. So it looks as though we're going to be under yellow here for the next lap or so, maybe half a lap. We'll wait and see what happens until the rest of the guys catch up to the rear of the pack here. So we've still got GTR and Waffles still to catch up to the back of the train. So Waffles is in for another pit stop, unfortunately. I'm not sure if he miscalculated his pit strategy there. So we'll see what unfolds in this pit stop. So it looks like a repair job there. GDR also following Waffles in the pit lane as well. So these guys just coming out of pit lane now. More specific, Waffles is exiting his pit boom. GDR coming into his pit boom. So we'll go back to the front where Wimpinator will lead everyone once the green flag is waving once again here at Sugo. Currently on lap 4 of 40. So a lot of the guys making their pit stops earlier on, which would obviously play them into the picture in the later stage here. So just waiting on GDR, and then we'll be back to green flag racing here at Sugo. So we can hear the engines roar as they're pretty much ready to go back to green light racing here. So we'll just reiterate the order as it stands now. Wimpinator, reigning champion, will lead everyone heading into turn 1. Then it'll be Andy Holden coming out of P2. Short Fuse in P3, Hooked XR8 in P4 there. We've got Dimple in P5, Aussie Chopper P6, Voodoo in 7th, Sparky God in 8th, John Dog in 9th, and then Angry Oldfella rounding out your top 10. Go further back, we've got Someone Awesome in P11, Waffles P12, GTR in P13. We go back to green light racing here at Sugo. You can see there's a lot of movement throughout the field down the main straight here, but Wimpinator getting an absolute ripper of a launch off the line here. He got the better of Andy Holden heading into turn 1, obviously. He's already extended that lead out to half a second on the first few corners here at Sugo. So now Andy Holden is under a lot of pressure from Short Fuse in behind here. So we'll quickly have a look at what's going on between these two, because these guys are second and third here on track. So here we go down the back stretch now. And it looks like Short Fuse. He's going to look to make a move in the downhill braking zone here at the hairpin, as well as corner on the track. But Andy Holden, he's got that move off earlier on in the braking zone. So very good defensive driving from him. We've got everything unfolding in the background as well. There's a lot of little scuffles going on in the minor positions there. But currently the focus is at the front with Andy Holden trying to hold off Short Fuse as the battle for P2 here at Sugo as we enter lap 6 of 40. For Andy Holden, he's lost out the short fuse now. So I'm able to get back to calling this one. So Andy Holden, he's lost out there a few moments ago. Hooked XR8, he's got a decent gap in front of him and behind him. His closest rival, Dimple in P5. Aussie in P6 there. As the camera tries to spot our spectator car here. So Aussie Chopper losing out to Angry Oldfella. He's really on a move here off the green light here. So he's come from 10th position all the way up to 6th after the safety car. So he's went to work earlier on here at Sugo. He did start in P4, so he's still got a few positions to gain if he's to equal his qualifying performance here. So you can see that lap time there. His quickest lap of the race by 5.4 seconds. So he's really blazing away with quite fine race pace there. So someone awesome coming out of P8. Trying to apply the pressure to Aussie now. Aussie seems to be under a lot of pressure. As you can see, a rear nudge from someone awesome in the background there. And he's rotated it out of the chicane. We got a lot of contact, a lot of drivers off there. Just trying to spot who that is. That's the car of Sparky God. So he's also caught a bit of carnage there at the chicane there. So a lot of early mistakes there for Sparky God. He's going to try and bring himself back into this in the later stage. We're currently on lap 7 of 40. So still plenty of laps to go. And as for the lead of the race, that's in favour of Wimpinator over Andy Holden. That gap is 4.6 seconds at the top. Then we got Hooked XR8 in P3, Dimple in P4, Short Fuse, he's been relegated back to P5 now, so he's also made a mistake on the previous lap. We've got Angry Old Fella applying the pressure in P6, so he'll be looking to make a move relatively soon as we go on board with him. So we'll see if he can actually make some inroads here on Short Fuse in the top 5. As we head up the elevation change now in the first and mid sector here at Sugo. Through the chicane section, very technical and very easy to get wrong. As you see, someone awesome mess it up just a lap ago. So down the back stretch once again. There's a massive draft benefit here right behind the rear bumper of the car in front. And as for Angry Old Fella, he's just going to have to gain the ground in the braking zones here. This battle, this is going to be the battle for P4 because Dimple has also made a mistake on this time around, so he's going to give Short Fuse the opportunity to be able to make the move in the next few laps or so. So we'll go on board with Dimple, trackside view as he tries to hold off Short Fuse. This is the battle for P4 as we enter turn 1 and 2 on lap 9. So we've got a car off there, and I think that's Angry Old Fella. He's off in the grass there. He's also made the same mistake as someone awesome did a couple of laps ago. And that's going to catch out a lot of drivers. The chicane section here at Sugo in the first sector. Someone awesome, the second victim, to completely rotating his car out of the chicane there. Short Fuse is up in the P4 because of that. We've got Hooked XR8 in P3. So Dimple is actually regained position in P4. So Short Fuse relegated back to P5 once again. So this is going to be a battle to watch in the next few laps or so. So Wimpinator currently holding a 6.4 second lead over Andy Holden. And that's Short Fuse going down the inside out of turn 12. Dimple made a massive mistake. He got himself all the way out on the grass on the outside lane there. He's lucky not to completely bin his race there. So that's given a decent advantage in favour of Short Fuse. That's the battle for P4. And it's sort of diminishing in the next few laps or so. We're currently on lap 10 of 40. So everyone's just trying to get into their groove here as Angry Old Fella currently tracking in P7 there. After that mistake a lap ago, we've got John Dog all the way back in PA after he started out the front row. But he's looking to be in trouble very early on here. Making a lot of mistakes, very costly mistakes for John Dog. As he just gets past Aussie Chopper there. Aussie Chopper going out a little bit wide on exit of turn 6, I think it was. A turn 7 correction. Let's go further down. We've got a couple of the guys coming in to pit lane in GTR and Voodoo. Looks as though those guys are in for repairs, unfortunately. I think Voodoo lost his rear wing there. He's finally got it back on. So Wimpinator with quite a commanding lead earlier on in this one. We're on lap 11 of 40, and that lead has extended out to 6.6 seconds. Down the back straight we go, on board with Wimpinator. Let's quickly get that up on screen. So next time around, he'll take you on board for a lap here around Sugo. It's a very technical circuit, a lot of elevation changes, and a lot of verified braking zones here at Sugo. So here we go, out of the last corner now, trying to use it as a slingshot. It's a massive double apex fast corner there. So here we go, Wimpinator will take you on board for a lap here at Sugo. I hope you enjoyed that on-board view with Wimpinator last time around. It's a very good lap, having to deal with lap traffic as well. And this is the battle for P3, I think it is. No, that's lap traffic as well. So Eddie Holden got a 7-second advantage over Hooked XR8. And currently, he's getting the pressure applied from Short Fuse. Behind him, he's going to send it down the inside head into turn 1. He should be able to make the move. Through the mid-corner we go. We're still side by side on exit of turn 2, and Short Fuse is completely backed out of it there. I'm not sure why he's done that. So Hooked XR8 holding on the dear life here. He's got a lot of pressure behind. You can see Waffles in the background there in P5 as well. He's a further 4 seconds back between this battle for P3 between Hooked XR8 and Short Fuse. So these guys currently down on their quickest laps here, so it looks as though the tyres are hurling earlier on in this race. As for Hooked XR8, he's got a lot of pressure behind him from Short Fuse as he went out wide there. So he's going to have to get back in the right mind frame here. He's just made a little bit of a mistake in the last sector here at Sugo. So unfortunately, GTR has left the session. Pardon me. what's going on further down the grid here. So John Dog finding himself in P6 there. Angry Old Fella in P7. We've got Someone Awesome in P8. Waffles in P9. Our championship leader. He's got severe amounts of damage here in the early stages. And it looks as though he's going to go a lap down as well after this pit stop. He's been caught up in a little bit of carnage by the looks of it. So he's just going to have to get as much points as he can in round 2 here. Currently Someone Awesome sitting in P8. We'll go further down. We've got Sparky God in P11 there. And he's also found trouble out of turn 12. And I think he's lost the tyre as well. Sorry guys, I'm not feeling up to it, but trying to push through here. Sparky God, he's definitely lost the tyre. You can see that tyre getting onto the track now. We've got Voodoo coming out of P12. He should be able to gain a position here. We've got the race leader coming in the pit lane on lap 15 here. So he's currently in P2 on track. We've got Short Fuse coming in as well. Hooked XR8 is in for his pit stop. And Waffles, unfortunately, with a lot of damage to his Group C machine there. And he's going to be sitting there for a little while. So Andy Holden, he's also caught a little bit of traffic there as well. I'm not sure if we've got a safety car out because he's pretty much slowed up to 50 kilometers an hour here. I think it might be a yellow flag, safety car conditions. So Andy Holden, he's got the lead of this one over Dimple in P2, then Wimpinator, our reigning champ, coming out of P3. He just came out of the pits a few moments ago. We've got Angry Old Fella in P4, so he's made a few spots out of that pit stop surge there. And then Someone Awesome catching up to the back of the pack in P5 there. So I'm just going to quickly leave you on board with Andy Holden as I quickly go to the toilet. Should be back to green light racing in a few moments time here at Sugo, currently on lap 16 of 40. Just waiting for everyone to catch up to the back of the train here. We'll be going green light racing once again here at Sugo. It'll be Andy Holden who has a narrow lead over Dimple P2. The first of the pit stoppers, Wimpinator in P3. So he's going to have the advantage once those top two guys drift off in the pit lane. up until now, until the end of the race. We hear the engines roar as they're rearing to go green once again. It's really bunched up the field as well. We've got everyone at the back here. I think we got Voodoo off to the right hand side there. No, that's Sparky God parked up on the edge of pit lane there. As you've seen, he lost the tyre as well. So I think we're going green once again. It's going to be Andy Holden who leads everyone heading into turn one. Wimpinator, our running tram, trying to make a move down the inside on Dimple, but not able to hold position there. We've got Angry Oldfella. We've got Carnage in the background there. Angry Oldfella who's lost his rear wing here. A lot of contact from behind from short fuse. He's slowed right up now as the few guys ahead of him get the massive advantage off this green light lap here. So short fuse going to make the move easy here. No, Angry Oldfella makes it reasonably hard for him on exit there. Angry Oldfella, he's just going to have to limp it back to pit lane here. He's not going to survive without a rear wing. This track highly dependent on aerodynamics, so it's going to be a very much a handful to drive for Angry Oldfella. Aussie's moved up in the P5 now, so he's got the better of short fuse. He's moved back in the P6. And we've got John Dog in P7. What's happened there? Sure what's happened there. So Andy Holden is leading this one by 2.1 seconds over Dimple P2 and closely followed by Wimpinator in P3. But this is the battle for P4, starting to heat up. Angry Oldfella tracing around the lap without a rear wing. I don't know he's holding on to the rear stability of that car. Just mind me, I've had a few to drink as well, so just get my words a bit slowed here. But short fuse right on the rear bumper now as Angry Oldfella's completely rotated on the exit of the chicane there. And that's going to be race done for him. He's just going to have to limp it back to pit lane there. Lucky not to have lost the tyre as well. So this is the battle for P2 between Wimpinator and Dimple. Dimple currently with the better of Wimpinator in P3, but he's a little bit of extra oversteer out the hairpin there. He's lost a little bit of ground to Wimpinator in P3. Right on the rear bumper now. As we enter turn 12 here, the last of the 12 corners here at Sugo. It's going to be right on the rear bumper in drafting effect here for Wimpinator. He's going to send it down the inside. You're heading into turn 1 now. We saw a move like that a few laps ago as well. So we're going to see a lot more of those tonight. Short fuse tracking well on P4 now. We've got Aussie in P5 trying to hold off Southern Awesome in P6 there. We've got John Dog a little further back. There's a train of 3 cars there from P7 to P9. Those guys, John Dog, Hooked XR8 and Waffles going battle there. Trying to get the better of one another as we enter lap 19 of 40. There's a lot of front end damage for Hooked XR8. He's going to be really struggling with the aerodynamics on his machine there. As we go down the back stretch now, he's going to be under pressure from Waffles, our championship leader, behind him. So we'll see if Waffles can make the move, head into the hairpin here. The camera angles seem to be very odd through the hairpin section here at Sugo. So we get a little bit of a close-up view. Probably not the view we want. Trying to get every bit of car in the background here. You see Waffles right on the rear bumper, trying to apply as much pressure as possible. And there's an overlap down the inside out of turn 12. So he should be able to make the move heading into turn 1, assuming he gets the ground gained in the braking zone. And that's Hooked XR8 trying to make a move himself, or maybe even trying to cover as well. So he holds on the P8 there, still under a lot of pressure here from Waffles, the championship leader. So he's really been saved from the safety car a few laps ago. Hooked XR8 just trying to hold position here. For how long can he do so with the amount of damage he has on the front end? We'll wait and see if he can hold off, but it looks as though Waffles made a massive mistake out of the chicane there. A lot of extra oversteer, and he had to hold on to the rear stability of that car. So he's seen himself almost half a second down from Hooked XR8 ahead. So Andy Holden with quite a commanding lead, but he's still yet to make a pit stop here at Sugo. 4.7 seconds is the lead in favour of him over Wimpinator, our reigning champion P2. He's the first of the pit stoppers. And we've got Short Fuse in P3, Dimple in P4 now, under pressure from Southern Awesome in P5 there. Correction. Just trying to burp as well. So Dimple trying to hold on the P4 here. Someone Awesome lurking on the rear bumpers. We've got a little bit of a rear nudge there from Someone Awesome. There's going to be a bump and run maneuver as they go side by side through the chicane. And that's Dimple having to take a tour on the grass there. And I reckon Someone Awesome, he might get a little bit of a penalty for that incident there. We'll wait and see what unfolds. A little bit of a bump and run out of turn 4. May see him in a little bit of hot water. There's Dimple, he's lost a huge amount of positions there, all the way back to P6 now. And he's under pressure from Waffles, our championship leader, behind him. So is Dimple able to hold off through this mid stage of the race? So everything's starting to heat up now as we come into the last half here at Sugo. So we're still yet to see a pit stop made by Andy Holden and Short Fuse or Hooked XR8. Those guys, I think Hooked XR8 might have to come in the pit lane anyway to repair that damage on the front end. He'll be really suffering with the front stability of that car. He wouldn't have too much grip on the front end in the deep braking zones. He's still holding on to P4 here. He's going to have Someone Awesome charging behind as well in a few laps or so. Go further back, we got a train of 3 or 4 cars here between Dimple, Waffles, John Dog and Aussie. It's going to be a very heated battle throughout this mid stage of this one. Dimple holding on the P6 over Waffles, our championship leader, in behind him in P7. So we exit turn 12 there, heading onto the main straight. Some massive elevation change there as we enter the main straight across the control line here. We'll actually get an onboard view with Waffles and Bits here. He's trying to chase down. Go back to chase view. There's a lot of damage on the front windscreen there for Waffles as they both go out wide. A little bit of a rear nudge there from Waffles on Dimple, so he's letting him know that he's there. He's lost out after that contact there. Waffles able to get the overlap on the inside, and he's going to get the move made halfway down the back straight here. So Waffles going up into P6 there. Dimple relegated back to P7 now. He tries to make a late dive there out of the hairpin section at turn 7, or turn 8 rather. A lot of carnage up ahead. Is that a lap car? No, it's not. Just trying to see who that is. That's Short Fuse. So he's made a massive mistake out of turn 12. He was running in P3. He's all the way back in the mix here now. He'll be really kicking himself after that incident there. Angry old fella trying to hold on the P10 here without a rear wing. You see he's very cautious on the accelerator around the first sector here at Sugo. Go back to trackside view. He's went out wide. Massive lock up on corner entry. It's really hindered his entry to the chicane there. Making another mistake. Now we've got Wimpinator here 3 seconds behind our race leader, Andy Holden. So provisionally, Wimpinator is your race leader based on the timings when Andy Holden comes in the pit lane for his mandatory pit stop. We've got Hooked XR8 coming out of P3 there. Someone awesome in P4. Waffles and Bits, our championship leader, stuck in P5, but he's made a lot of ground after the last safety car here at Sugo. He'll be very happy with the progress he's made. And we've got Dimple in P6 as we enter turn 1 and turn 2 here at Sugo. He's trying to get right up to the rear bumper of our championship leader, Waffles, in P5. He's also made a few mistakes in the early stage here, Dimple. So we're not too far off the closing stage here. So we've only got 16 laps to go at Sugo. So not a lot of laps to contend with here if you're trying to make ground on the leaders of this one. We've got John Dog moving up in the P6 as he's got a massive overlap down the inside, down the back stretch. He's going to get the move made on Dimple, I would assume. Dimple get the better of him in the braking zone at the hairpin. So they go side by side once again. Dimple holding on to dear life here. John Dog finally get the better of him through the last sector at Sugo. He's going to be able to drift away with quite severe amounts of lap times there. Waffles, our championship leader, completely binning it out of lap 12. He's stuck in the sand trap there. He's had massive contact here, I reckon, with Voodoo. So Voodoo and Waffles making contact. I reckon Voodoo is going to be in hot water there for sure. So he's going in the pit lane here. Pit lane's blocked. I'm not sure who that is. That's Angry Old Fella. So he's got pit lane blocked here. He completely lost the rear end on entry to pit lane. So those guys not getting the break from the disastrous situation they coped with there. And that's Waffles and Bits completely parking it up. Championship leader completely out of it. You only get 11th spot there. We've got Andy Holden coming into pit lane now. So leader of the race coming into pit lane so he can serve his mandatory pit stop. We still got Angry Old Fella and Voodoo parked up in pit lane as well, but they're further up there, as you can see on screen. So I'm not sure what's going on there with Voodoo. So Wimpinator, your current leader of this one at Sugo, round 2 of Bush League Racing's Group C series. He's got quite a comfortable lead at the top by 5.1 seconds over Hooked XR8 in P2. We've got 4 drivers parked up in pit lane for now. We've got Andy Holden, Dimple, Angry Old Fella and Voodoo. I think Andy Holden is exited pit lane from his mandatory pit stop there. So he's trying to track back the lost ground. They lost in pit lane there, relegated all the way back from first spot all the way back to P7. So he's got a lot of work to do in the closing 14 laps here. So Hooked XR8 still driving around on track with that front end damage. Really commend his efforts to holding on to that machine there. It'd be very difficult to drive through the slow corners. I think that's Angry Old Fella coming out of pit lane there in P9. He's a couple laps down now. Unfortunately for him, Got Dimple in P8. He's almost a lap down, maybe. Yeah, he's just a lap down now. Wimpinator's just ahead of him. So Andy Holden, he's 30 seconds down from the leader this one. What can he do from 7th position in the closing stage of this one? We'll wait and see. We'll quickly go on board for him as he takes you around for what will be half a lap here at Sugo. Out of turn 12 now, and he's right on the rear bumper of Short Fuse and P5. So he's already made up one position on the previous lap. So we'll go back to trackside view as Short Fuse tries to hold off Andy Holden in P2. Now, unfortunately, Short Fuse making a massive mistake there out of turn 2. He's had to give position to Andy Holden there. So Andy Holden provisionally, I reckon at this stage, would be a championship leader. We've got John Dog in P4, very good performance from him so far. He's still got a lot of ground to make if he's to catch up to Southern Awesome in P3. That gap between those two is a bit over 6 seconds now. Wait and see if he can make that ground in the closing stage here. We've got less than 10 laps to go here. Currently on board with Wimpinator, our race leader. He's got a little bit of lap traffic to contend with as well, right on the rear bumper, and I think that might be Dimple there. Yeah, sure is. So Dimple, he was one of our top contenders earlier on in this race, and he finds himself all the way back in P8, unfortunately enough for him. He's just going to have to track for 8th position at this stage. Aussie Chopper quite a fair way up the track in P7. He's still on the lead lap, but 37 seconds down from our race leader, Wimpinator. So unless we have a safety car, this is looking likely to be what the results are going to be coming out of round 2. So Hooked XR8 is holding on the P2 here, but he's got lap traffic in behind him of Angry Old Fella. So 4.2 seconds is the gap from Wimpinator and Hooked XR8, and he's really chipping into that deficit now. He's putting an all-out attack throughout this last stage here. But is it going to be good enough to be able to catch up to the rear end in the closing laps here? We've got 9.5 laps to go here at Sugo for round 2 of Bush League Racing's Group C series, as we go down the backstretch now on board with Hooked XR8. So I reckon that lap traffic with Wimpinator having to deal with is really setting him off his groove. So quickly how settled Hooked XR8 is to the track here as we get to lap 32 of 40. More lap traffic up ahead for Hooked XR8. I think that is Dimple in P8 there. He's obviously quick enough to be able to maintain position as well. So it's not going to be made easy for Hooked XR8. So that gap between the top two, 4.3 seconds as we enter the back straightaway now on lap 32. A lot of curb usage through the last sector for Hooked XR8. Shows you the complete commitment from him in being able to catch up the Wimpinator in P1 there. So we'll go back to trackside view and see if we can spot up any battles unfolding. So someone awesome coming out of P3. This will be his best performance in Bush League Racing's series so far, if he can hold on to it. We've got John Dog coming out of P4. Down the back main straight we go. Cross control line. He's only half a second off his fastest lap here at Sugo. So his tyres doesn't seem to be hurting too much. Andy Holden tracking well in P5 after coming in from his mandatory pit stop. He was the race leader a few laps ago, but because of that pit stop, he's seen himself all the way back in P5 there. Short fuse with a massive mistake. He's all the way back in P6 now. A lot of work to do for him. Aussie Chopper coming out of P7. He's still on the lead lap and he's tracking well for a very good result here. We've got Dimple coming out of P8, but he's a lap down at the moment. We've got Angry Old Fella and Voodoo. Those guys both a lap down as well. And Voodoo finding a lot more trouble here on lap 18 for him. So he's just trying to return at the pit lane. So Wimpinator, he's extended that lead out to 6.1 seconds on the previous lap alone. You see the top two times there, a 1:11.6 plays a 1:12.4. It's only 0.8 of a second on the previous lap. They've got someone awesome. He's currently the third quickest on track at this stage. Correction, fourth quickest with a 1:11.9. Quickest on track is Andy Holden. Is he trying to make a move up in the P5 here? Yep, he's trying to make the move on John Dog. But John Dog not making it easy for him. So he's trying to get the better of John Dog here, but John Dog making his car as wide as possible here through the first sector of Sugo. As we scroll up through the gears here, entering turn 7, turn 8. Down the back straightaway we go. John Dog going to be under extreme amount of pressure from Andy Holden behind as we enter the deep downhill braking zone here for turn 9. We've got Voodoo parked up in pit lane here, unfortunately. So this is going to be the battle to watch in the closing stages. And looks as though our race leader, Wimpinator, he's made a massive mistake from the leader this one. That gap between the top two is just under 3 seconds now. So we might have something starting to heat up there as well. And that's going to be Andy Holden just sending it up the inside of John Dog. He's just given way there. So we'll see how Hooked XR8 is tracking. You can see Wimpinator just ahead of him there. As we go back to the chase view here on board with Hooked XR8. Down the back straightaway we go here at Sugo. So these guys got plenty of fuel to last the entirety of this one. Hooked XR8 a little bit bogged through the big corner there at turn 9. Andy Holden starting to feel the pressure from John Dog behind now as well, as those guys are starting to enter the third sector here on lap 35. So we got 5 laps to go here at Sugo, and your current race leader is Wimpinator at the top here. He's only got a narrow lead over Hooked XR8 in P2. That gap just over 2 seconds now, 2.3 to be more precise. Got someone awesome looking fine for a podium finish here. And we've got Andy Holden a further 10 seconds back from someone awesome. Trying to hold off John Dog, and that will be your top 5 here. So John Dog has lost a little bit of ground in the first sector here as Sugo. So he's just going to have to track 5th position here, assuming Andy Holden doesn't make a mistake in the closing laps. See where everyone else is tracking. Short Fuse in P6, and we've got Aussie Chopper in P7 there. Dimple, I think he's gained his lap back because Wimpinator, race leader, made a massive mistake. And we've got a car off there. And that's going to be Voodoo once again. Turn 12, not looking good for him. So Wimpinator with quite a commanding lead now. He's got back into the right mindset here. 2.5 seconds is the gap from himself and Hooked XR8 behind. I really commend Hooked XR8's effort for contending with that front end damage here for pretty much the entirety of this one. It looks as though we got a retirement from Voodoo, so caught up in the wars tonight unfortunately. He'll come out 10th best here at Sugo. So it looks as though Hooked XR8, he doesn't have anything left in the tank there to be able to make a charge on our race leader, Wimpinator, who is the reigning champ here at Bush League Racing. Someone awesome, still tracking well for the final podium spot here. Currently see what his last lap time was. So 1:11.7, so he's faster than the two guys ahead of him, which is a good sign. Andy Holden tracking well in P4 now. He will be your provisional championship leader as I predict throughout the later stage here. Championship leader unfortunately coming in Waffles. He was a race winner last time out, but he's currently parked up in pit lane. And hopefully he can bounce back heading in the round 3. He would have lost quite an advantage at the top. So we'll take you on board with a lap with Andy Holden here. See how he tracks here on the penultimate lap. That last lap was only 3/10 off his fastest there, so he's really tracking well. Unfortunately, too little too late for Andy Holden. He's just going to have to come out in 4th position. But as for Wimpinator, the reigning champ, he's got quite a comfortable lead at the top by 3 seconds over Hooked XR8. And it looks as though he's going to come out as the race winner here. He was pole position as well, so converting off pole is a very good sign for him in the early stages of this series. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to convert off pole position last week, but he's redeemed himself this week, coming out with a race victory in round 2 here at Sugo for Bush League Racing's Group C series. Second best will be for Hooked XR8. unfortunately having to contend with that front end damage. I reckon's caught him out a little bit. Someone awesome, a very unlikely podium from the middle of the grid, but he'll be very happy with his performance there. Andy Holden coming out in P4, almost tracking down someone awesome. If he had one more lap, he may have been able to make that move. And John Dog rounding out your top 5 here. And Aussie Chopper, a very good performance from him, coming out 6th best here at Sugo. We've got Dimple in P7. Short Fuse caught up in a little bit of carnage between our race winner, Wimpinator. We've got Angry Old Fella in P9 there. We've got a few retirements to follow as well. So we're just waiting for the rest of the guys to cross control line now. So we've still got Aussie Chopper set up in the last sector now. And right behind him is Dimple in P7. It looks as though Chopper will be able to maintain 6th position here. At the last corner we go. So very good last lap from Aussie Chopper there, 1:11.5. He completely bins it at turn 1. The usual end of race, sim racing shenanigans there. But here are your unofficial results. It will be Wimpinator who comes out victorious, our reigning champ. We got the better of Hooked XR8 by 3 seconds in P2. And someone awesome with a very good result in P3. Andy Holden, John Dog rounding out your top 5. We got Aussie Chopper, Dimple, Short Fuse, Angry Old Fella, and then Voodoo, unfortunately disqualified. Rounding out your top 10, we go further down, we got Waffles, championship leader heading in, but he was retired on lap 25. And for Sparky God as well, a retirement from him on lap 11. So that has been round 2 of Bush League Racing's Group C Series. I hope you enjoyed that installment as we go into what's going to come up next week here. So next week, round 3 of Bush League Racing's Group C Series next Monday, live from 7:55 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time. So I hope to see you then.